So I don't know if you've ever sat back and thought about how amazing it is that you are on two hit shows at the same damn time, playing two wildly different characters. So take me through that process. How do you go from Wanda on a Monday to, oh, I got to be roulette on Thursday?
Man, boy, I tell you, I will say this. I am very glad we started with P Valley first because that polling, that training, that getting into that life, I had to go into my old Gail bag for that. Like, roulette is I'm telling you, roulette is Sagittarius. She fire. She's me. She's me at 18. I mean, minus the actual getting naked and doing sexual acts for favor, but
Right.
she's definitely me. Like, I worked in a strip club. I definitely used to fight. I have tattoos. And I'm a go-getter. So going back and forth because I shot them at the same time, but I started with P Valley first. We started in July. I trained for 4 months prior to July. So I didn't get to Snowfall until after Labor Day. So we started that about September. The beautiful thing was the situation I found myself in is that we were in COVID. So whenever I would fly to LA, I would have 5 days to quarantine before I would have to go on set. I was grateful for it because it took a while to shake off roulette. I would be trying to learn the lines for Wanda and could not remember them for nothing. Like, for the life of me, like, why am I just couldn't step into her shoes. I could not get into the world, could not drop in. But by day 5, I would be ready. I would get to show up to set, Wanda in the flesh. So that was a beautiful thing about it. And then after going back and forth so many times, it was easy. It was natural. And I loved it because it was fun. You know, there are moments where it's heavy in one area, and then there's like light and comedic relief in others. So I liked it a lot. I did really like stepping into roulette because me and her got a lot of similarities.
So how did you book the role of roulette?
Ironically, it was a straight offer. So Tash, I think Tash's last name is Gray. She's a soror. She's from LA. She used to write on Snowfall. And then, yes, she wrote on the pilot of P Valley, which is crazy. I met her one time. I met her one time at a party, a house party. And I was like, oh, I also write. And I knew kind of that she wrote for P Valley, but not really because I auditioned for the pilot like 5 times. So I was like, yes, I also write, I would love to be a writer's assistant or a fly on the wall or whatever. Just, I'm looking to get in some writers' rooms. We exchanged emails, and it's so wild because after COVID, P Valley shot the season 1 before COVID. So her and Katori stayed in touch, and she brought me up to Katori like, hey, now with COVID, you want to be around people who are fun to be around, but also who are very talented and who just can come on the set and do what needs to be done, as well as bring a good energy. So Katori reached out to my reps. Her reps reached out to my reps to have a Zoom session, like just a general. I was like, okay, we talked. She asked me, so would you want to be on P Valley? Are you kidding me? Hell yeah. She's like, because I know, you're very talented. I knew I would eventually work with you one day after the audition. And that audition was, when I tell you, I went in 5 times. I thought it was mine, but I knew if they would have given it to me, it would have been it wouldn't have been a hit, to be honest. It wouldn't have, because I didn't look like the character who I was going in for. I said, I don't look like this character. I look like a person who on their way into the strip club. So I knew, even for the talent, you got to take all things into consideration. No matter how much makeup you put on, no matter how many clothes you take off, I just didn't look like that character. And that was right. They pushed me forward. I had callback director session. They even pushed me to the studio, and the studio said no. And that's probably a no that I am most grateful for, because it wasn't it, and it wouldn't have done justice. It wasn't for me. But when it came back around, I knew it was so perfect because I didn't even have to audition. She offered me the role, and it was just like, what? I've had so many mind-blowing moments in my career, and I'm early on in my career. So when P Valley came around, that was me and my guys' COVID show. I mean, we used to sit on the sofa watching it, and he doesn't watch TV. He's come from football. All he do is watch ESPN and football. So here I am, and he's from Atlanta. He's from Scottsdale, watching this strip club show, of course. He's gonna love it. And we just had a blast. We had a blast. And I used to say all the time, baby, I'm gonna be on that show. I want to work with Katori. I'm gonna work with Katori. So when it came around and it was an offer, I was just full of gratitude. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not the hardest thing in the world to convince a man to watch a show about that is based in a strip club drama. Like, that's not hard. So what was the training like? You mentioned 4 months. Like, what did they have you doing?
So I first started on my own. One of my sorority sisters would train me. When I first just got the email about meeting with Katori, I said, okay, I don't know what role, but let me just buy a pole and start training just in case. I didn't want to show up day one and that'd be my first time actually touching a pole, because even though I worked in Onyx, I never poled before. I was a shooter girl. I just, I always thought, oh, that looked too hard. I don't have the upper body strength. The things that we say all the time when we look at it. But I was very, very grateful for her to introducing me to pole, and I would go to her twice a week. I think we would do an hour. And then maybe a month after that, I started when P Valley actually put me in training, we started at Vertical Joe's. So I would still go to Dark Night, but I would now do 2 a days. So I may go to Dark Night in the day and then Vertical Joe's in the evening. And Vertical Joe's was 4 days a week, 90 minutes. So it was intense. And then when production actually came to Atlanta and started up a little closer, now I was going training, rehearsals. So it was intense. And I showed my boyfriend the first time I came home from rehearsals, and I felt good. And he was like, baby, you need to go every day like it's your 9 to 5. I was like, dang. He said, I'm going.
Wait, so was he saying you weren't good?
Oh, he was definitely, we operate off the honesty system. He definitely was saying I was terrible. Like, what are you doing? He told me, do not get on that TV and embarrass us. I was like, embarrass us?
Not embarrass us. Not embarrass us.
Yes. So he was like, nah, you need to go every day like it's your 9 to 5. And I showed him the video with pride, thinking, look, I could get up the pole. No.
He was like,
long 4 hard months, but it was worth it. It was definitely worth it.
Now, on the show, though, how much do you actually have to do with the pole? Because I do understand, from what I understand, they do have trained dancers who do maybe more of the aerial type of stuff.
So I think for safety purposes, we're not supposed to even go upside down. But I am very big of like doing my own stunts. Like Snowfall will tell you. I think there was only one stunt I didn't do on Snowfall, which I'm grateful for, because the stunt double ended up getting a knot. So I was like, and I was gonna do it. I was like, thank God. But I did probably about 80%. Like when you look at the actual routine. Now, I can't do no split. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I could do a right split, left split, but I cannot do a middle split. So when that girl's on that pole and it's like a real spatchcock in the beginning, that ain't me.
That ain't you.
That ain't me.
Okay.
But I'm good at polling now, and I could do it. But also when it comes to takes, I tell them, you got 4. You got 4. So you decide whether you want it in the wide, you want it in the close up, because I can't do 20 takes of polling. My doubles can't even do 20 takes of polling. I had 3 doubles because, sometimes you may get that over there, like someone and you're just in the background, kind of blurred, but they need to be seeing you moving up there on the pole. Don't bring me in for that. Like, I worked hard, but don't bring me in for that. And then these tattoos aren't real, so like they start to stick to the pole. It feel like back as a kid, people used to do the Indian burn on your arm.
Oh yeah.
After you pose so much, then it start to stick to the pole. You start to get a little stuck. So I'm like, yeah, no, let's get me on the close up. Let's get me on the medium. Like I'll do the hard stuff, but you get 4. You get 4. And then we used to do this cowboy switch where I'll go up to a certain point and then we'll do a switch out when the camera may be coming over here to pan.
That movie magic, that TV magic. So with P Valley, that definitely felt like a show that was a little bit of a slow burn, and then when it caught, and now it's, obviously extremely popular. So, I guess, how does it feel for you to be a part of not one but two hit shows
I'm not
again at
gonna
the same
lie. I
time?
just feel like it's favored because I know it's nothing specific. I work hard and I do research, but you know how they say faith without works is dead. I know I do the work, but I know like I can't look at the work that I do. I do the work, but even with the work I do, I'm like, nah, I don't know. I didn't do all of that. Like it didn't merit all of this. So I know it's just favor. It just feels I'm aware of like, oh, okay, you kind of chosen. Like you kind of got favor on you just because, and it just feels like real.
What this made me think of a question I actually had regarding Wanda, but why do you think so many people resonate with her? Because I mean, Roulette is like a very fun character. Like, I mean, most of us don't necessarily relate. I mean, the badassery, I think a lot of people relate to with Roulette for sure. But with Wanda, why do you think that character relates so much with
Because
people?
I think Wanda is so multidimensional that she can be your mother, your sister, your grandmother, your auntie. She can, her age range, even though she's like, when we first got introduced to her, it was like late teens, early 20s. But that's women, so many women at some point within a Black family, somewhere. Like there is not one Black person alive who does not know someone that was on drugs. Like that's what crack did to us. It made us relatable in every degree of separation to crack. So I think because I made sure that I put a lot of who I am genuinely, when you build a character out of genuine, authentic foundation, it's going to resonate with everyone. And I think someone may have seen, whether even if it's not the addiction that you've seen and you related to, you might have related to the personality, or you might have related to the comedy of her. You know that that's someone you know. And I think that's just how the Snowfall writers write. That's how John creates his characters, to where they're so rooted in something. It reminds me a lot of how August Wilson writes. Like they are very specific when they write the character. So when the actor comes, you've given us the gift of knowing how to genuinely pull that from something that has been authentic in their own life.
With P Valley, it's been able to create a lot of conversations, especially in our community, especially as it relates to, Black masculinity and relationships, particularly among queer people. And I had Jay Alphonse on the show because I think he's so incredibly good. Number
He's a
one,
beast.
yes, he is a beast. And just being able to present the type of love story that him and Lil Murder and Uncle Clifford have. Why do you think that P Valley was able to create these conversations that they have, where people are talking about things that frankly we probably don't talk about enough?
I think a lot has to do with Katori setting it in the South, because a lot of areas in the world think that they have moved, think the world has moved past a lot of its obstacles, that a lot of its prejudices and a lot of people in the world think that we've moved past that. So to set in the South, you kind of really get into like, no, this is life for Black people. This is what is still going and still valid. Did you see the movie Till?
Oh no, I have not seen it
There
yet.
is
No,
a line
but obviously know the
that,
story.
not even Mamie Till, Danielle Deadweiler plays Mamie Till. She does a great job. She says, what she's living in Chicago, obviously, and the character Mamie says, when something would happen to the Negroes in the South, I would say that's their business. I have realized now I was wrong, and that when something happens to the Negroes anywhere, it better be all of our concern. And I think that has been the issue with a lot of things in the world. Like now, thank God to social media, it is now our concern a little bit more, but forever we've been unbothered about things that happen all over. and stigmatisms and things that place people in boxes or make people feel uncomfortable with just being in their own skin and just existing and breathing, and making it very hard for them to wake up each day and live in their truth. So the beautiful thing is, in the South, I feel like people are themselves even if they're afraid to be themselves. And some just are themselves in the dark. So what Katori did so beautifully, and Jay Alphonse and Nico and Nan, they shine light on so many lifestyles, even with dancing, even with interracial dating, which that's still a thing in the South. You know, it's still a thing. When I went to LA for the very first time, I was like, man, black dudes don't even look at black girls out here. I was the first white guy that tried to talk to me asked me for my number, and I was just taken back at how bold that for him to ask me for my number. I was like, what? I was just, there's so much in the South that happens that we're not exposed to. So I think it was just beautiful that she brought the South to the rest of the world.